Welcome back to Berrien Birders. We've moved away from gulls for at least one episode, and we have a pretty fun shorebird.
Yeah, we do. We were, and this was actually a cool one on the, I can't remember if it was Tuesday morning birding or one of the bird outings. A bird flew in, kind of a medium-sized shorebird. My first thought was Baird's as it was kind of flying into the beach, and Matt noticed some other field marks, and ID'd this as.
Buff-breasted sandpiper. We kind of kicked around the idea, could it be a peck? And then I kind of said, well, it might actually be buff-breasted. It flew in, landed briefly on the beach, and I could see just a bright, brilliant white wing lining. We'll talk about that more later in the video when this bird disappears. We ran down the beach, and what did it do?
It flew down the beach, and then it kept going and going and going. So we thought the bird was long gone. And I don't know, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes later, here it came again and obviously gave us some stunning views, as you can see from this video. But yeah, this is not a common bird in Berrien, right? This is a bird that, I've been birding in the county for about 3 years in Southwest Michigan, and I've never run into this bird before about a month ago when one showed up at the sewage ponds. But this one showed up right on the beach.
Yeah, we used to get them a little bit more frequently when the beach was wider. That you can see that this bird is foraging kind of mostly in the dry sand. It's not spending as much time in the wet. He's kind of picking for small insects. You'll see at some point that he walks right past a few ladybugs if you're paying attention. So pretty much going for real small insects, and here washing down some water to try to help the digestion of said insects. But it likes the dry sand, and we did better with this bird when the lake levels were lower and we had a lot more beach. Since these aren't really mudflat birds, and aside from here where it's kind of bathing and drinking, it's not really a bird of water's edge.
Yeah, and a lot of times you can find these birds on sod farms. So if you have a sod farm near you, then definitely check it out in the fall for buff-breasted sandpiper. Now, looking at some of the field marks, Matt, like this bird, when we're comparing it to a killdeer, around the same, I would say, maybe a little bit bigger than a killdeer.
Oh, I think it's 2/3 the size of a killdeer. It is.
Okay.
I think it's smaller. He's kind of one size bigger than Baird's. In my mind, is pretty similar in size to pectoral. It's kind of colored vaguely like a Baird sandpiper. It's something as we're talking about the identification. You can see in the scapulars here, the feathers of the if I can get my mouse to work, the feathers of the shoulder and the back, they start out small, then they kind of get bigger. Those are characteristics of a juvenile shorebird, that when you're trying to identify a shorebird, the peeps especially, it's less important for this bird, but you really want to age it first. And so kind of those very crisp, scaled edged feathers here, those are the scapulars in the shoulder of kind of the feathers covering the wing. And that's kind of one of the things that marks this bird as a juvenile. Here as it walks towards us, you can see some of that buffy, but this is a lot less buffy than that adult we saw a couple weeks ago was.
Yeah, the coloration and the peach buffy color on the adult that we saw a couple of weeks ago at the sewage ponds was a lot more intense, is what I noted on this bird. This bird, you can still see it, but it's more concentrated towards the upper, almost the neck and face of the bird, rather than just kind of more down the breast of the bird.
And it's a buff-faced sandpiper. And kind of that very plain face is kind of a good mark for these birds. The very few shorebirds will have this kind of pigeon-like look of short bill, relatively medium, evenly colored face, and then that big dark eye. You almost speculate that these guys are somewhat active in the evening, as big as that eye is, though I don't think that that's an actual real field thing if you go farther north onto the tundra.
Yeah, just a couple other things. We noted the yellow legs, kind of a different color, I would say, a little bit darker, almost a golden to me, than like a lesser yellow legs. But also the tail, looking at the primary projection, it's just a little bit past the tail, so the wings don't stick out a whole lot further like they do with the Baird sandpiper.
But certainly in that same area, and
Mhm.
in addition to kind of little orangier legs than yellow legs, still yellower than what peck would have, since pectoral is kind of similar in shape to what this bird. Here you can see that bright white wing lining as the bird takes off. Not a great view of it, but you see how there's a ton of contrast between that white wing lining and then the buff of the rest of the bird. But this was an exciting bird, and one that I'm looking forward to seeing again sometime.
See you next time.
Like, comment, subscribe.